Yes, here we are. Welcome everybody to an all-new Downright Sports, the radio show. I am your host, the Notorious sports critic, Brent, Reid, as I am trying to fix my pop filter. So when you listen to the podcast later on all your major platforms, it doesn't sound crazy. But welcome to the last show of 2021. Yes, the ball will drop in just a few days. Time to celebrate the new year. We're going to have a lot of fun on this show today. Of course, we're going to talk about the college playoff and how that's going to play out and who we think we're going to win, who I think may or may not win. But we also today will talk about the legend himself, John Madden, as just before I was going on the air, John was announced. John Madden passed away. Long good life. I don't know how good it was. I didn't know the man personally. We went fishing a couple times, and quite frankly, I think he cheated. But I digress. Rest in peace, John Madden, a man who's entertained us for decades, literally decades, whether it was coaching, calling the game, or giving us the gift of Madden. That's the gift that keeps on giving every year. Any case, this week, if you will, the wait. Hold on. I got bad at this. The wait is over. I repeat, the wait is over. I have neighbors too. The college playoffs begin this weekend, Friday, the 31st actually. We will have 4 games that will be played, and then the winner of those games will go on to play for the championship. So who are the lucky teams? Who are the lucky teams that have the privilege and the benefit and the fortune and the honor, that's the word I've been fishing for, the honor of playing for the championship? Well, you have the SEC champions, Alabama, no surprise there. You have the Big Ten champions, could you believe that? That's Michigan. I'll turn it down a little bit. We will have some background music that's going to be all over the place. It's the new year, well, it's the celebration. Anyway, Michigan, the winner of the American Conference of Football, of Notre Dame, of the Republic of America, Cincinnati, and then the runner-ups for the SEC seem to always get in. So here's a news thing. Oh, Georgia, by the way. But here's the thing. If you're a team in the SEC, don't worry about winning the conference. Just finish as a runner-up, and they put you in. Don't be a runner-up in any other conference, because you ain't getting in. But if you're the runner-up and you get the snot kicked out of you by Alabama, that seems to be a badge of honor. They tend to put you in. They bash you and put you to the front and leave other teams up for the slaughter. So, let's get it on. So the games will be Friday, and they're going to be respectable bowl games, the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. I don't know how important the bowls matter anymore, as like 100 were canceled, like just days and days and days, due to the only undefeated person on the field and in your hearts, COVID. So, let's get into it. So we're going to have the privilege and the honor of witnessing Cincinnati take on Alabama, and then Michigan's going to take on Georgia. Now, pretty much you can pencil it in, and maybe Georgia-Alabama SEC championship rematch yawn. Of course, that's what we all want to see. We all want to see these teams face each other again. Why not? Who doesn't just think that college football is just the SEC and that any other school in the country, they don't matter? So what we have here are a very different circumstance. On paper, let me be clear, that's going to be a key word on this show. On paper, it looks like it's Bama's all the way. Who can beat Alabama? Who? For those of you out there that think, well, Georgia's got a chance. Georgia had a chance. And then Alabama went all Madden, you like what I did there, and beat the tar out of Georgia. It wasn't even close. That's why I don't know how the heck Georgia found a way to get in, because it wasn't close. It wasn't even a nail biter. It wasn't a pencil pusher. They didn't even pull the covers up to their neck and make it tight. They basically just went to bed, kicked the covers off the sheet, no pillow, no nothing, and just laid comfortably in that other man's bed. Because that's what happened. Now, Bama in Cincinnati. Cincinnati was undefeated all year. Cincinnati had a fairly, some would say, an easy road to this. Finally, they recognized just because you shouldn't be penalized that your conference may not have some of the best teams. But Cincinnati and Desmond Ridder, a senior, he threw for like 30 touchdowns, over 3,000 yards passing. Pretty standard for a college guy. The biggest wins this year for Cincinnati, they beat Notre Dame when Notre Dame was ninth, and a lot of people felt like that team was on the precipice of, knocking on the door to make it to this point, but they did it. They were knocked off. They also beat number 21 ranked Houston for their championship, so when it was tight, they found a way to get through. Defensively, and this is going to be a key, and sometime in college, defense doesn't always tell a story, but defense always tells a story no matter what level you are. But Cincinnati only allows 168 yards passing. They allow about 137 yards rushing, which is interesting. Alabama, on the other hand, has a strong, pretty decent run game, and we've seen when Nick Saban puts together a plan, you give him basically like a month to just dissect and pick apart your whole entire team, well, then he may have something in store. Because under Brian Robinson Jr., the senior who rushed for 14 touchdowns, average about 5 yards per carry, Cincinnati, who gives up 137, may find themselves in a situation where they got to pick their battle, because the Heisman Trophy, Bryce Young, who basically just went all Madden and threw everywhere, 43 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 4,000 yards passing. Like, who is this guy and he plays for Alabama? Well, can Cincinnati contain him? Teams who have gotten whooped by Alabama having trouble trying to contain them. The problem is Alabama's always got the bigger, the stronger, the faster. They have NFL-ready guys. Cincinnati, not as big a program as Alabama. They're not going to have that meat up front. So for Cincinnati to try to win, controlling the ball, which is not going to be easy, trying to keep Alabama's offense off the field is going to be the key. Now's not the time for Cincinnati to, what we're going to do is, let me be Cincinnati's head coach, whose name escapes me. Because I don't know it. But if I was Cincinnati's head coach, I would not, guys, we're just going to stick to the game plan. We're going to do the same things we did against everybody. Everybody in the American Conference, we're just going to do that. Nope, it ain't going to work. It's not, because Nick Saban is going to go to the podium after winning the game, and they're going to ask, Nick, guys, Washington Post, I'm just curious, how was you able to prevail and beat the Cincinnati team? We worked hard. It was pretty easy. The coach thought he could play us the same way he could play a team like Houston or Notre Dame, guys who just ain't got the meat up there, where a team like myself, where I got men versus boys, it's not going to be, I knew, going in, we just didn't practice hard enough. I felt like, we missed so many plays, even though the final score was like 50-10. I feel like there was so much more opportunity for us to score even more. And I'm going to ride them pretty hard in the next practice, because perfect is not perfect enough for me. I'm looking for, I think I'm striving for God status. That's pretty much what I want, like infinite wisdom and power, and I won't be happy until I achieve that. That's just who I am. Nick, you're going to a championship, and more than likely, you're probably going to win your 8th. Is the 8th one going to feel even more special? No, if anything, I'm not going to really dwell in it. We'll win. I'll take it. It'll go on my mantle next to dead animals and my money, so much money I make. But no, I have to worry about next year, and next year begins now. So the championship's a formality. I'm looking forward to next year, and it's going to be a lot of stiff competition. If Cincinnati sticks to their game plan, I promise you, that's how the press conference is going to go. Nick Saban will be doused, not in flowers, but the milk and the blood of his enemies. Now, if you're going to put some money, that's ahead of my segment. I'm too far in advance. The other game, the Orange Bowl game, will be Michigan versus Georgia. Historically, if we look back, Big Ten schools do not fare well against SEC schools. They just don't. But Georgia is a bit of an anomaly because on paper, Georgia has all the fixings, if you will, and all the accoutrements. If you could compare Georgia to a wrestler, they'd be Dolph Ziggler. They got the look, but you really don't want them to be your champion. So if you look at Georgia and what they got a pretty standard quarterback in Bennett, who basically, 2,000 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. But where it is, and even their run game is pretty basic. Their lead runner, Zamir White Jr., he is a junior. Zamir White, 700 yards, 10 touchdowns. But it's their defense is where they kind of hone it in. Where Michigan's offense ain't the best offense in the world. Like, their offense doesn't strike fear in their enemies. So, and not to mention Michigan's defense isn't the best to basically tip. They can't go home and walk in and drop their keys in the defensive part and say, hey, we did it today. For Michigan to be the Georgia team that is used to playing, once again, the Alabamas of the world, Michigan is more used to playing Ohio State's. Good teams, but Ohio State is kind of like Alabama light. So when you want to get, when you want to drink, you go get a Budweiser. But when you want to just you go get like one of them seltzer waters. That's kind of what Ohio State is. They're more like that seltzer water. They'll get the job done, but it's going to take a lot more to get it done. In the case of Michigan and Georgia, it's going to be apples and oranges. For Michigan, now the one upside, Georgia's going against a guy who coached in the NFL. We've been waiting for years for John Harbaugh to get to this moment and show his wealth. Can he get the Michigan Wolverines to a championship, somewhere they haven't been in a very long time? And in this new era of college playoffs, they definitely have not sniffed it. So this year they beat Ohio State, they beat Iowa when they were ranked. They did lose to Michigan State, who seemed to just only get up for that game. Georgia ran through Clemson when they were ranked 3rd, Auburn when they were ranked 18th, Kentucky when they were ranked 11th, and they lost to Alabama. Now, let's talk about the Georgia schedule. As the year went on, it wasn't like the only loss Clemson had was to Georgia and Arkansas and the others. They might have finished with winning seasons, but realistically, were they as good? Like, did Georgia face the true Clemson teams we know in the past? No. They faced that Clemson team that was fresh out of rehab after drinking for about 5-10 years, living life really high, but they had to go clean up because they lost their love, Trevor Lawrence, for those that didn't catch that. And then the rest of those teams, I don't think they finished anywhere ranked close to where they were initially ranked, that false system that they come out with every year. So, with Georgia and Michigan having two just mediocre quarterbacks, we will find ourselves thinking that the Cincinnati and Alabama games are going to be the shootouts, when maybe this is the game where the two quarterbacks take the gloves off and we just see a knockout slugfest, which I'm really banking for. I think I'm going to be on the road when these games are going on, so hopefully Allie will drive and then I can watch the games, because that's what I want to do. But I don't think it's going to go that way. And I'm not even going to try to pick that fight. That's what the radio's for. Anyway, let's play some bets. So, if you're going to put some money down, basically, ain't a whole lot. I wouldn't do it on the over-unders. And the money, and I'm not going to go into detail because the line is subject to change because there's days, and then as Antoine would tell me, there's COVID. So, right now, Michigan, if you bet the money line, Michigan and Cincinnati, you pick those two, and you put about $100 down, This is poor man betting. This ain't the ESPN stuff. But you put about $100 down. You can walk away with a little over $1,500. That ain't bad money, is all I'm saying. And there's a possibility you can win that. I take that. I'll take it. You only out of pocket. What you net? Like $400? You actually net $450. No, wrong. You net $1,450. You net $1,450. That's what you net. Sorry. That math didn't add up, and I was reading it on paper. I'm sorry. So who do I think is going to win this weekend? Well, I haven't done a prediction in a long time because I haven't felt it. Like, normally when I do predictions, I stand on my pedestal and I give my word. Well, Mr. Showtime is back and I'm going all out. I would love to see Cincinnati win this week, but it ain't going to happen because Nick Saban has got something to prove. Everybody said coming into this season his team was too young. Well, when he's always putting something up to prove. Cincinnati's a fun team to watch. What a season they had, but this is where their road comes to a halt, and this is where it's all over. Pop the balloon, the dream is over. Bama will beat Cincinnati. It will look close early, and it will be a blowout later. Now, in the Michigan and our Georgia game, get ready. 15 rounds, knockout draw. We won't see overtime, which would be awesome sauce, but we're going to see 4 quarters tough football. I know. It's Georgia, Brent. And it's Georgia. And them Bulldogs, man. You know, SEC. I know. But think about this. Georgia, what I called them earlier, the Dolph Zigglers of football. Now, if you know nothing about wrestling, who's the best comparison? Oh. They'll just fold like a cheap tent. How about that? Michigan will win, and a close one, to go on and face Alabama. And I'm not giving a prediction because you have to stick around for when Downright Sports is back for the championship show. How about them apples? Yeah. Way to keep you waiting. Hey, this is Downright Sports, everybody. Thank you for listening here on Street Madness Radio, first thing in the morning. I know, I'm shot out of a cannon. Also, thank you for listening on Dynasty Radio NY, your number one source for hip-hop and R&B, except for on Thursdays at 8 o'clock when it's the sports takeover. I couldn't think of nothing. For 2 years, I couldn't think of nothing to say there. Now I've said it. So Thursdays at 8 is the sports takeover. I like that. You can also listen to the podcast anywhere, major podcasts, or download it. Also, if you're watching on Facebook Live, which I really can't tell if anybody is, but if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, this is the last show of the year. Thank you, people, the steady group of people who have been watching. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to throw in some tunes. What tunes we're going to throw on? We're going to throw on a little Justin Timberlake. So if you want to hear the music, you need to listen to the radio show. You need to listen to the podcast. Stay tuned. I'll tell you how to do that. You can also watch clips of the show on Instagram at Downright Sports, TikTok. Also now, starting the new year, we will be back on YouTube. And I will find some ways to edit the show and get it on YouTube. So we'll be right back with more. We'll be right back with more.